I am so glad to be here with you today in my hometown, in my home state, to announce that I'm running to serve you as the next president of the United States of America.
Beto O'Rourke in his hometown of El Paso, Texas, yesterday, formally kicking off his presidential campaign. Notable this cycle is the large number of women running, and separately, how male candidates are becoming more cognizant than ever of gender on the campaign trail. NBC News political reporter Vitali reports.
My name is Elizabeth, and I'm running for the Senate because that's what girls do. Now, won't that be fun for president?
They're running and in force.
I stand here today
to announce my candidacy
for President of the United States.
Female presidential hopefuls building on the momentum of 2018's so-called pink wave, and a Democratic electorate electrified by the consequences of a nation that didn't vote for another woman when they had the chance.
I'm excited about the women.
For the men in the field, their gender is suddenly a question in need of an explanation.
Why would someone vote for you over a woman or minority candidate?
As a white man, I've clearly had advantages over the course of my life.
What is your experience with becoming aware of your own privilege?
This kind of nuanced masculinity in a presidential field is new. That's not to say they always get it right.
I just got a call from my wife, Amy, who's back in El Paso, Texas, where she is raising, sometimes with my help, Ulysses, who's 12 years old, Molly, who's 10, and their little brother, Henry, who is 8 years old. Not only will I not say that again, but I'll be much more thoughtful going forward.
And it's not just about maleness. It's about elevating women should 2020 become a case of the best man winning.
If you got the nomination, would you commit to choosing a woman as your vice presidential running mate?
I'm not going to box myself in, but should I become it, I'll be looking to women first.
Would you commit to having a woman as your vice president?
I would commit to considering the importance of diversity in all respects.
How come we're not asking more often the women? Would you be willing to put a man on the ticket?
But the more things change, the more they stay the same.
I think a lot of people see you as pretty likable.
Suddenly, Twitter blows up, Allie, because Kamala Harris tries on a sparkly jacket.
Even as female candidates lean into gender as a rallying cry.
I always like to say, may the best woman win.
But the man Democrats will face in November isn't known for his nuance on gender or anything else.
I cherish women. I do. I cherish women.
The great Maxine Waters. That's a beauty.
Consistent in his affinity for being a man's man.
And their 9 children. You were very busy. Wow. I always knew I liked him.
Now, with the males, I set records, but who cares? I'd like to switch it. I'd rather set the records with the women.
This was locker room talk.
Any guy that can do a body slam, he's my kind.
An election of stark contrasts, and not just on the policy.
And Vitali joins me here on set. You had me making faces at the end of that piece, and quite the compilation there of sound bites. But this is such an interesting kind of way of that things have changed. I thought what you said about the fact that how candidates are approaching masculinity differently is really interesting, because over the course of history, we've all told female candidates they have to be more masculine if they want to win.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, the women are doing something interesting in this race in that people like Kirsten Gillibrand, for example, are leaning into themselves as moms, or Kamala Harris and Amy Klobuchar are leaning into their roles as the first senators or attorneys general of their states. And so there's that. But what I'm interested in seeing is how this plays out among voters. So Democratic voters, in theory, say that they're excited to vote for women or diverse candidates. But then you look at the polls, and Biden, Beto, and Bernie are the ones who are leading them, at least right now. And then secondly, once you get to a general election, how does this play out with someone like Trump, who consistently, voters for the past several years have said to me, yeah, I still like him, but I wish he would do a little bit less by way of the offensive tweeting and all of those things that he's saying. So there's a few different ways that this can play out going forward.
It's really interesting that you bring up voters. So I spoke with Amy Klobuchar a little bit about this topic when I was in New Hampshire. Take a look at how she answered the question about what it's like to be a woman running.
I do think it's interesting. We have a number of women candidates that have had, I guess, what could be described as tough jobs, right? I just come to mind are people that I work with every day. That's myself. Yes, I was the former prosecutor, ran an office of over 400 people. Kamala Harris was the Attorney General of California. Elizabeth Warren ran the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And so sometimes when you're in those positions, you have to make tough decisions. And people don't always agree with everything that you do. And so I think that over time, when voters and citizens look at this, they're going to look at what is the overall record of this person. Maybe it's good that they had to take some daggers and have a tough job and make some tough decisions. Traditionally, we have respected that in American politics. And I don't think we should treat men different from women simply because they both have had responsible jobs.
Are you suggesting that perhaps, say, Beto O'Rourke, for example, hasn't had as tough of a set of jobs as you have?
Well, that'll be for the voters to decide.
Precisely. Juana Summers, I mean, it is an interesting, and Beto O'Rourke received a lot of criticism for essentially saying, he was born to be in this setting when he's had, a couple terms in Congress under his belt. It seemed as though Amy Klobuchar was making that contrast.
Yeah, it's really difficult. When I heard those comments, I find it difficult to imagine what the reaction would have been among those in the media and among voters if a woman had said, I was born to be the president of the United States. What's been really interesting about this election cycle so far, and I realize we're only 3 months in, is the fact that voters are seeing so many different versions of what female leadership looks like and what leadership looks like in these more than a dozen candidates that are running. In 2016, we had the case of she's running, and we saw the clash between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in their election. But now it's she's running and she's running and she's running and she's running. And what that elicits, and what I hear from women voters in particular, is they're excited that they have these choices and they get to kick the tires, and to see women who are embracing that and talking about it in so many different ways, from folks like Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who announced her presidential campaign saying that she's running as the mom of 2 kids, to someone like an Amy Klobuchar or Kamala Harris, who, as Ali points out, they're running on that record of that strength and that the careers that they've built and those accomplishments.
Rick, quickly, and there's whispers that the Democrats need a white man to beat Donald Trump. Do you buy that?
No. No, and I'm looking forward to, as you say, all the different leadership styles that women have. I work for women. There's a lot of disadvantages and there's, frankly, a lot of advantages to being a woman, particularly in the political field. That many women carry a lot of the skill sets that are required to legislate, to actually get compromised, to actually get things done. So let's move forward with it.
Fair enough.